Hey guys. There's Andy.
Oh god, my hair's a mess.
Andy's hair. There's Lucy.
Hey. You might recognize me from Instagram.
Someone might So Lucy has an Instagram where I post pictures of her. We used to have a Facebook for her, but it ended up getting deleted because she was underage. So we made her an Instagram, and now she thinks she's Instagram famous.
I really am, because I go somewhere and they say, hey, I recognize you from Instagram. Just random...
That's what I'm saying.
I just walk around places and random people just say that to me.
Right.
Wait, what does that say?
This means that someone's watching. It says Susan is watching. Hey, Susan.
I have no idea who that is.
Susan has an ostomy bag just like Mommy. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Makes her pretty much a superhero.
I haven't mom.
Hey, Sherry. I'm just going to talk a little bit, get some more people
Wait, who
on.
is that? What does that say?
That says Sherry. She said hi. You can say hi.
Well, hello.
Lucy's only going to be here for the first minute, but she really wanted to say hello to everyone. So I let her on. She goes, then maybe my Instagram followers will see me. She just got some Hubba Bubba from Dad as a gift from his trip.
Wait, what?
Hey, Heather. Heather just said hi. Hey.
Oh,
Look, that says hello, Lucy.
Maybe, wait, does she really know me?
I guess so. All right, kiddo. Mama's going to finish doing this, all right?
Okay, can I play Minecraft now?
Yes, you can go play Minecraft.
All
right.
Xbox.
Lucy has the Xbox. I told her she could play Minecraft because it's the weekend. Let's get you over, okay?
Well,
all right. So, hi guys. I can see everyone saying hello. Hello. I wanted to talk a little bit. There are just so many new people in the group as of like this week, which is awesome, but totally unexpected. So I wanted to kind of introduce myself and talk less about other people and a little bit about myself, and tell you guys a little bit about my story, what brought me here, what brought me to Boudoir, and kind of a little bit about that. So obviously, as any Facebook Live, ask me questions along the way. If I don't answer them in the video, I will totally answer them after. I'll comment after and reply. So if you guys have questions about anything, just let me know. So let me bring this up here. Sorry. All right. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about how I started photography in the first place. I was pregnant and I said, I have always loved photography. I just have a fine arts background at college. And I've just always loved it and loved photos and stuff like that. So when I was pregnant, I was like, well, I really want a nice camera so that I can take pictures of Lucy all the time and not just when we're going to do like her newborn photos. I want to take pictures of her always. So I taught myself how to use my camera after my mother-in-law got it for me for Christmas. I taught myself manual and all the settings and stuff. I basically Googled how to make the background blurry and like kind of went off from there. So Andy was always just really encouraging into the photography field, and he was like, this is so cool, we could turn this hobby into something. And it was very scary for me at first, but it was a hobby for a little bit. And then when Andy, he was a firefighter and an EMT, he ended up hurting his back on the job and having back surgery, not being able to go back, and was kind of like at home trying to figure out what to do, but kind of like while he was recovering, like tinkering with my cameras, and ended up teaching himself photography as we kind of taught each other different aspects of things. So he's amazing. He's the business brain. He gets all the systems and the marketing and all of that. So it's funny. It was just a really good like combination, the two of us working. It's definitely hard to work with your spouse. Don't get me wrong. Working with Andy is really fun most days, but also we kind of want to kill each other all the time because we have such a different like way of seeing things and how we view systems and stuff like that. So it ends up being really, really fun, like on the wedding day, being able to shoot in two different ways and two different like techniques. But then on the back house end of things, it gets to be kind of stressful, but then most of the time it's fun because we get to problem solve together. So we love it. So that's kind of how we got into photography. Initially, I started shooting boudoir kind of as like another genre of photography. It was kind of becoming a little bit bigger in the business. We had a couple weddings booked, and we were, doing families and maternity and stuff like that. And so Boudoir was like, oh, this looks like it's really fun and empowering. So I wonder what it would be like. So we had some of our friends come over and like, hey, you want to model for us? Just like, just do something fun. We'll throw you on the bed, or we went to like a hotel and did some pictures at a hotel. And it was just really fun to be able to see them like really, really nervous in the beginning and then come out like feeling like I could do literally anything. Like they were like totally feeling themselves. And so this first shoot we did, it was like a marathon. So we did like 3 shoots in one night. And it was just so much fun. And we were like, wow, I didn't think that this would have such an impact on me. But to be able to see my friends like totally love themselves and love on their bodies and be like, wow, I look awesome. It was just really empowering as the photographer. So I started to get into wanting to shoot more boudoir. And I did a marathon again just to kind of help people see the beauty that I saw in them and the friends that needed to see that. And it was funny because more and more of these people who I would know, who I grew up with, would be like, I think I want to do a boudoir shoot. And I'm like, that is awesome. And nobody talks about these insecurities because it's not something that you love, you talk about. It's not something that you're like, oh, I'm just so down on my body or whatever. You're not like very open about that initially. So being able to see these people that I know was just very comforting to me, because it was like, okay, well, the things that I feel and the insecurities that I feel are validated. Like everybody has insecurities. Every single person, no matter what, size they are or shape they are, or color of their skin or how old they are, everybody has these things that kind of hold them back. And it's so amazing that just taking a beautiful photograph of them can kind of show them like, hey, you have that in you. You have that like ability to see the beauty that's inside of you on the outside, and I can show that to them. So that was really one thing that like I was totally hooked on boudoir. And there weren't a lot of people in our area that were shooting boudoir in a way that empowered women. It was very much a way to, just give your spouse something as a gift for the wedding or something like that, which it is a great idea. It's a great way to give them a gift, or a great way to give something to them for Valentine's Day. But also on those occasions, on your wedding day and on Valentine's Day, you guys deserve to be able to love and appreciate your body too. So no other photographers in our area were viewing boudoir this way. So I was like, well, this is crazy. Like, I don't know why they're not doing this. Women need this. Women need to be able to see in this day and age. You guys need to be able to see like, hey, my body's not a magazine body. I'm not like in some Vogue magazine, but I look awesome and I feel awesome. And when you look awesome and you see that photo of yourself, your mindset changes, your whole day changes. So in that next year or so, I got a boudoir shoot done of myself. It was like amazing. I never grew up with these crazy insecurities. I was never, I was fortunate enough to grow up in such a wonderful, loving, chaotic, crazy house. But there was always people loving on you. There was always people around you, supporting you no matter what I wanted to do. If I wanted to paint on the walls, my parents were like, yeah, go for it. Just don't make a mess. So I had this amazing support system. So growing up, I never had those severe anxiety over my self-image or anything like that. But I always had a couple friends who I would hang out with that would get guys' numbers and get, all this attention. And I never got that because I was very quirky all the time. I was never really holding back my quirkiness. So I could kind of still see that I was different than these magazine people. Than I was, I had a personality, and a lot of the people that we're hanging out with didn't. So I carried that on into being an adult and being like, okay, well, I need to fit in. I need to fit into all of these things because I am, weird. I like weird things. I like weird music. And I like, weird movies and shows and actresses and clothing and stuff like that. So I kind of got into that feeling of having to fit in. So boudoir, at my boudoir shoot, it was so nice and refreshing because my photographer was like, okay, so what are the outfits that you brought? And so I showed her, of course, my favorite one first. I was like, I got this tutu and I got this bralette and I love how they look together, and I made sure that they matched perfectly. I actually literally hand dyed the bralette so that it matched the tutu. And I was so excited about this, obviously. And in my head, I'm going, but then I got this like other like normal lingerie stuff. I got this like stuff too, like what I normally see in pictures. And she was like, I can clearly see that you're excited about the tutu and the bralette. Let's do this. And we did pretty much all of my shoot in that. And I had like a little black like corset thing that I wore too, but it just wasn't me. So at that point, it was just kind of like, hey, I can be me and it's okay. And I don't have to worry about fitting into these norms and these like kind of dulling down my personality just because that's what I see normally in the media. And it wasn't necessarily a self-image like insecurity issue. It was more just a personality thing. It was like way deeper than that for me. It wasn't an outward image thing that I had an issue with necessarily, but more of like this inside view of fitting in. And I didn't really know that. I didn't really understand that until I had my boudoir shoot done, and I was like, hey, wow, look at that. And then again, it was another step in me understanding how my clients felt, and another step in being able to photograph them better and photograph you guys better and help your personality shine through in everything that you're wearing. And that it's okay that if you don't wear lingerie, you don't have to wear lingerie at your photo shoot. It's totally okay. So in about, I want to say, so in that year that I did my boudoir shoot, it was in June, I think. For the previous 6 months, I had been in and out of the hospital for various things. Initially, I was in the hospital for what we thought was like potentially walking pneumonia. And what that is it's pneumonia. It's not coughing. It's like kind of flu-like. You're just totally run down, and you can kind of go about your day living but feeling exhausted. But what happened for me was that it happened so gradually that I just one day couldn't make it up the stairs. And so for a couple weeks at a time, I was wandering slowly up the stairs, and Andy was like, what is going on? And we thought, we were moving. It was the busiest time. I had like 5 shoots every weekend because it was the fall and into Christmas and into January, which is big for family sessions. And I was just totally worn out with work. And I was like, this is fine. I'm totally worn out with work. I have a toddler. My husband works overnight. Like, it's just life, right? And my family and my mom was like, no, there's something totally wrong. Like, you look kind of gray. And I had always been told I looked pale, so I ignored it, of course, for weeks. And then I think for the first 2 weeks of 2016, I guess, that January 2016, I could sleep for like 24 hours straight. And so Andy started to get more worried. Everyone started to get more worried. And then I started to have more other like whole system issues that brought me to the hospital. So I was like, my heart's kind of weird and my chest kind of hurts when I breathe. So I was like, oh, totally pneumonia, right? And they tested my blood and said, your hemoglobin is at a 5.4 or something like that. It's supposed to be at like 11 or 10. So my body wasn't making half of the blood, or I had bled out somewhere. So they initially, of course, ask about injuries. Like, did you fall? Are you bleeding internally? Are you bleeding out of somewhere? But nobody actually asked me what my stool looked like. And this is about colon cancer, guys. I'm warning you, I'm totally going to talk about poop and some blood. That's kind of how this story goes. Lucy's laughing. She's heard this before.
It's disgusting.
Stop it. So, if somebody had said to me in the hospital that very first time I went, hey, is your stool dark? We would have been, fast-tracked to a diagnosis. But nobody asked me that. No ER doctors, the hematologist didn't ask me. Nobody asked me that. So we tried to figure out where I was bleeding from, and then we tried to figure out, okay, well, if I'm not bleeding from anywhere, why am I not making blood? And so we went into more tests and giving me infusions and transfusions. So I was on, every couple months, I would get another like 3 units of blood because my hemoglobin would drop again. And we had thought, like, okay, what about leukemia? What about cancer? Never once really thought about colon cancer, just kind of, you think of blood and an issue with blood and cancer, you think of leukemia initially. And so our hematologist, who happened to also be an oncologist, oh yeah, and my mom just brought up another point as well. I have a lot of other issues. So I have a connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos. I have a mast cell activation disorder. So kind of like my body doesn't react to inflammation, or it causes inflammation like when it's not supposed to. There's a lot of weird issues I have in all of these other areas that I was kind of like calling it, oh, it's probably the EDS, it's probably this, it's probably that. I'm probably not absorbing enough iron because of my bad intestines, because of Ehlers-Danlos. So that's kind of like, and our doctors too were just like, yeah, it's probably this. But nobody really did any other further testing besides, let's give you some iron infusions, let's give you blood transfusions. So they were kind of fixing the symptoms and not really helping find what the cause was. So they asked me I ended up in the hospital again, and they were like, well, maybe you have an upper GI bleed, and maybe that's where you're bleeding from. Maybe that's why you keep losing blood. So they did an upper endoscopy, and wouldn't give me a colonoscopy because they said the insurance wouldn't cover it, and so they weren't even going to do it. And I was like, well, I got to do a colonoscopy, guys. Like, what if I'm bleeding from there? And they wouldn't do it. So they said, we're going to send you home from the hospital again. I had been there probably 8 times by this point, several days at a time. I became very good friends with the OBS unit nurses. They're amazing. And they sent me home again. So they said, follow up with your gastro doctor, do a colonoscopy, and maybe we'll find some more answers. And maybe even they were thinking maybe we'd find more about an autoimmune. Maybe it would still be, not something small, but something that I'd have to like take supplements for all the time. So I called a bunch of GI doctors in the area, about 5, before one finally was like, well, I can see you in a month. That was the soonest somebody could see me. And I said, that's fine. I'll schedule the appointment for a month, but I'm not going to come because I know I'm going to end up in the hospital by that point. I know I'm going to be in the hospital again because it was just a typical thing. So in that same week I made the appointment, I also had my boudoir shoot done. I was exhausted and feeling like physically really bad and tired, but I was emotionally on a high from the shoot because I loved it. I had that revelation that I said earlier where it was like I wasn't trying to fit in anyone's box, and I could be as weird and as quirky and as me as I wanted to be and not have to fit in. And I loved that feeling. I had a great time, and then about 2 weeks later, I ended up in the hospital again because I had a week straight of blood and diarrhea. And of course, you think of, oh, it's just a stomach bug because I'm the queen of saying, oh, it's probably this, and it's probably that. That's what everyone always thinks. And so my mom just commented, and then the poop hit the fan, which is hilarious because it totally did. So I was weaker and weaker and weaker because of the diarrhea, which I thought was a stomach bug. Ended up in the hospital again, said, hey, there's some blood in here. And they were like, oh, it's probably hemorrhoids. And then I actually I got into the ER, into my little room, and went to the bathroom. And my mom was like, don't flush the toilet so the doctors can see it. So the doctors could see it. They saw, like, all right, that's a lot of blood. Like, that's not like hemorrhoids from having kids. There's a lot of blood in there. So they went, and this amazing GI doctor, who is still my GI doctor, Dr. Weinstein, if you're in the area, he's at Capitol Health in Hopewell. He's a great doctor. He was like, oh, I think with your family history, I think I'm going to do a colonoscopy, and we'll just do it first thing in the morning. We're going to hydrate you a little bit. I basically had emptied my whole system anyway because it was all water and diarrhea anyway. Drank a lot of water the night before. Was really hungry. So hungry, guys. This was the worst part about this whole thing, was that it was so hungry. And all I remember is kind of being hungry, going to sleep in the pre-ops room. Everything was, pretty normal. We're just doing another procedure because I'd been through so many. And then I remember waking up as they were wheeling me into the room, and Andy just had like this weird look on his face. He was just like, so do you remember what they told you? And I was like, they didn't tell me anything. And he said, well, they said they explained it to you, but I was coming out of the anesthesia, I guess, or the sedation, and I never remember anything when I have any sedation in me. So I don't know why doctors tell you anything when you're just waking up. So Dr. Weinstein had finished with me, got up to my room and told my family what was going on and what he found. And then I got wheeled up, and that was when I was more awake. And so he said, okay, well, it's bad. And I was like, okay, it's cancer. In my head, I'm like, duh, it's cancer. There's nothing, you wouldn't say like, okay, it's bad if it wasn't that. Then he said, we found a tumor, and it was in my, I might say this wrong, transverse and descending colon. So it was like the worst part to try and operate on. If you were going to try and get like just the tumor out. He said the tumor is giant. It's large. It's 99 or 98% blocking your colon. So the reason that I was having diarrhea was just because nothing but liquid could get through, could get past the colon. So, you know, initially you think of like, wow, this is such a horrible thing. Why me? Why all of this? But in my head, I thought, well, thank God they found something. Like, oh my gosh, like cancer, like there's steps to fix that. There's steps that I can go through to get rid of it out of my body. And instead of sitting here suffering and not knowing why, it was just so nice to be able to have an answer. And so everyone in the room, everyone around me is in front of me. I'm in the bed like this. I'm sitting. You guys are my family looking back at me, and they're all just like, why aren't you freaking out? Like, they're like, is she like in denial? Like, they're like, you know, like he just said cancer. And I'm like, all right, cool. What do we do? So I asked the doctor, I was like, all right, so what's the plan? So he said, we need to get your colon out. Because of my family history, the reason he thought to go to my colon was because my dad's father had colon cancer, and then his mother and potentially grandmother had some type of uterine or ovarian cancer as well, which is very suspicious for something called Lynch syndrome, which I actually know. Erin, I don't know if you're watching, one of my clients, one of our wedding clients, and her fiance just found out they had it. And they were asking me a bunch of questions. I was like, oh my gosh, you have it too. So basically what Lynch syndrome is it is a genetic disorder that predisposes you to certain types of cancer. So in this genetic disorder is a mainly colon cancer issue. All of your reproductive organs if you're a woman, and then your like digestive tract. So less of like esophageal and upper GI cancers, a little bit higher risk for like stomach, and then the intestinals, and a major risk for colon, and like rectal, and then again as a woman, uterine, ovarian, and stuff like that. So he was the only doctor out of seeing doctors for 6 months or so, because we were adamant and we were like, no, something is still wrong. Like, I'm not satisfied with these answers. And I had a great support system who came with me to appointments and said, these things are wrong. Like, something is wrong. This is not okay. Just giving me like these little answers that don't make any sense or not okay. He was finally able to put it together. So that's why those stupid family history forms are so important when you go to the doctor and they're like, what's your family history? Is there a history for this or for that? Because you really never know. No one in my entire family, up into me, to the point where I was diagnosed, knew about Lynch syndrome, and it could have affected so many of us. So my dad had a 50% chance of passing it down. I'm one of 7 children. So the risk of us as the children getting it was pretty high. There's a lot of us. Thankfully, all of us, everyone was able to get tested. My dad has it, but the other good thing about Lynch is that you don't have to ever have cancer either. And if you do get it and you know about Lynch, it's usually early enough on that you can get rid of it pretty quickly. So myself and 2 of my brothers have Lynch syndrome, and that is it out of all 7 of us, which is pretty amazing compared to, you know, how many people could have gotten it. So I got sent the next day off to UPenn. We found a surgeon that we had loved who had actually done a colon surgery on my aunt. We went to go use her at UPenn, or at HUP, I'm sorry, excuse me. And got all settled in. And then the night before the surgery, they said, actually, your doctor that you came to see is not here. The surgeon you want to do your surgery is not here. That was a huge hiccup. So we ended up having another doctor that just happened to be there that day, but had a great reputation and everything, do my surgery. And he was wonderful. I see him for my yearly checkups, and he is just an amazing doctor. He's very gentle and like listens to everything. And for us with all of our weird health issues, and my mom knows, like, you just get used to like kind of advocating for yourself and being like, no, this is what is going on. This is wrong. You're not listening to me. And he sat and listened to everything. He listened to all of our concerns. He listened to all of it. And it was amazing. It was a great experience being able to stay at HUP for the surgery, and all of that. So what they did for my surgery was they took out the tumor with my entire colon, and then they sewed my ileum, which is the end of my small intestine where it would have connected to my large intestine, and they sewed that all the way up to my rectum. So I was still able to go to the bathroom naturally and just kind of take a couple months for my body to catch up. A lot of people who have, I know a lot of you are commenting about Crohn's and colitis. A lot of people suggest this as a way, if you're damaged, if your colon is too damaged, to attach your small intestine to your rectum and just, learn to live with, that surgery and those symptoms. So the symptoms that come with that surgery is that your colon that you're taking out of your body is actually responsible for absorbing all of your water and some of your salt. So your poop comes out more like, a solid poop. Whereas when you are taking your colon out and you're not absorbing that much water through your small intestine, you have very watery stool all the time. And you have to go much more frequently. It's very hard to deal with. I was going to the bathroom 15 times a day. I was shooting a wedding and, had to make sure that like Andy and I both didn't go to the bathroom at the same time in case, he needed to be out and photographing something in case I needed to go to the bathroom. So it was very hard business wise to figure out what to do and how to handle that. And about, I want to say like 2 months later, so about 2 months after that surgery where they took out my colon and sewed everything back up. They did it laparoscopically. I had a bunch of little tiny scars that you can barely even see. I woke up at about 6 a.m. with excruciating pain. Worse pain than ever in my entire life. Worse pain than childbirth. I had an epidural, so I really can't say, but it was worse than that. It was worse than the diarrhea pain and that blockage pain of the tumor. It was just such intense, extreme abdominal pain. It kind of started to like slowly ease in. So I was kind of like woke up with it and I was like, it's fine. It's probably just like I ate something bad, kind of like a cramp almost. And then tried to sit up and it got worse and was literally from like waking up to like 10 minutes later, like on my hands and knees screaming in pain. So I don't remember much. But
I remember.
She remembers because someone came and picked you up, right? I think.
Grandma and I was crying.
Grandma, she was freaked out because she had just dealt with me being in the hospital for the first surgery. And we drove right to our hospital that my local gynecologist or gastro guy is at. I get all these names of these doctors messed up. But we went right into the ER. I said, I just had the surgery. This is what is going on. They touched my stomach. I was just screaming. And they said, I think you have a perforation. They did some type of scan. I don't remember what it was. CAT scan, MRI, I don't know. Saw that I had a bunch of gas and fluid in my abdomen, which meant that where my small intestine and my rectum were attached had kind of leaked and kind of opened a little bit. And instead of the stool going out, it was going into my abdominal cavity. So I was like, when we got to the ER and I got back there, before the scan, I was screaming for pain medicine because I just needed some type of relief. And the medicine, the drugs that they gave me did nothing, absolutely nothing. So they said, this is what's going on. We're going to send you right back to your surgeon. Went in an ambulance ride to UPenn because he happened to be at UPenn that time. And the EMTs actually dropped me by accident. They dropped the gurney down, like, far, and I literally almost lost it. Like, I thought that was how I was gonna die, was because the gurney dropped. It was the worst pain ever. Thankfully, as you can see, I can laugh about it now, but it was pretty bad at the moment. From the moment of me waking up in pain to me being in surgery again, so it was like me in pain, going to Hopewell, which is like 20 minutes away, then from Hopewell going to Philly, which is like 40 minutes away, to being in their ER, it was like 4 hours. It was like nothing. So they rushed me and they knew exactly what was going on. They had to clean up my abdominal cavity, but they didn't know the extent of it. So they had to do kind of what is more like an exploratory surgery. So they had to open me up this time. So from like my belly button to all the way down to like my pelvis area, pretty low, like below where you would get a C-section. And they opened me up there, cleaned out everything. And I woke up with an ileostomy bag. So I remember waking up and looking down and thinking, there's a bunch of stuff on me and I'm in so much pain, but I'm kind of loopy, right? But I still remember like what I saw very clearly. And what I thought initially what my ostomy bag was, I thought it was a drain, and I had had a drain in my previous surgery. Some of you have had drains in surgeries, or if you had a mastectomy or something like that, and expanders, those drains, they're just kind of gross. They take up that extra fluid and get rid of it. And so initially for the first couple minutes, I was like, all right, it's a drain. Andy was freaking out because he thought that I would freak out that I had an ileostomy bag. And once I realized, I was like kind of worried that Andy was freaking out. I was like, oh, I hope he's not freaking out that I have an ostomy bag. But the best part about this was that at my previous surgery, they had kind of prepared me for, like, hey, you could potentially, if things don't go well and we need to take out more than we need, or if it's not a healthy, small intestine, we're going to have to go in and, place an ostomy bag. So at my first surgery, I had an ostomy nurse come in beforehand and explain what it was and explain how the bag worked and like what they do at the surgery. So I knew, only because of my previous surgery, what the ostomy bag was. If I didn't have that explanation beforehand, I probably would be more freaked out. But I had come to the terms with the fact that, like, it was totally a possibility before. So I knew that beforehand at my previous surgery, if I ended up with an ostomy bag, that it would be permanent. A lot of people in this group who have ostomies, sometimes they're not permanent, or there's a chance that you might heal your intestines from having an ostomy bag and then be able to have them reattached and everything and not have to worry about having it permanently. So I kind of knew once I had one that it would be permanent. So a lot of people ask me all the time, is it permanent? And it is for me, because of my Ehlers-Danlos and my connective tissue disorder. If we tried to reattach anything, like we did the first time, and reattach the rectum back to the small intestine, then the same thing probably would have happened. I probably would have burst again, and it just wasn't worth it to go through all of that. And then slowly lose more and more of my small intestine as they had to get rid of a couple of inches at a time. Just totally not worth it. So it totally was an adjustment to have the ostomy bag. That is definitely not something that I tried to sugarcoat. Totally an adjustment, totally weird. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, you have this foreign object on you 24/7, and yes, one day it becomes a total part of you. You don't see it, you don't feel it. It's like your hand, it's like your leg, it's like, another part of you. But in the beginning, it's really hard to, like, kind of understand it and understand its boundaries and understand how you can move without, like, ripping your bag off, which I have done a couple times. Which there definitely is. If you guys scroll back to like 2 years ago in the group, there's a post about me ripping my bag off by accident, and it is the funniest story ever. You should read it. So, let me think. I just lost my train of thought. So yes, it was an adjustment. It was a huge adjustment, but even more so was looking down and seeing this giant scar in my stomach and these giant staples. I had grown up listening to Madeline, and so we joked around that, the the scar was like Madeline's scar, and she was said poo poo to the tigers in the zoo, and like it was like very much my mindset, like, oh well, whatever, this is my scar, this is just, you know, what it is. But it was super freaky to see those staples in skin. I felt like skin and metal like just shouldn't mix, and they were stuck on there for I think 3 weeks. I got them out at like 3 weeks, or maybe it was 2 weeks. Totally weird. That was weirder to me seeing the staples than it was seeing the ostomy bag. So my sister, Mom just commented, my sister made a little drawing that said abdominable snowman and put a little scar on his stomach and drew me like a little abdominal snowman guy. It was hilarious.
I remember.
Lucy remembers. That was pretty funny. We drew it on my little whiteboard at my hospital room.
You showed me a picture.
I showed you a picture, I did. So we ended up being in the hospital for, I want to say, like 5 days after that surgery. And the pain from that surgery was way, like, 100 million times worse. Just because it was, you know, an open surgery as opposed to laparoscopic. So mentally, that was a lot harder on me. But it wasn't mentally, it was just, I think it was just the gravity of having an ostomy bag, having a giant scar with staples in it, kind of coming to terms with all of that while kind of being in a little bit more pain. Whereas the last surgery, I literally was walking the same day. I was up and like walking around the hospital the same day. And so I'm coming to terms with the fact that like my body looks totally different now. Without my colon, I had a divot in my stomach, kind of where my pelvis is, so like under my belly button. Instead of your belly kind of naturally going out, initially, before my organs kind of settled, it went in and looked totally weird. And then now, I have this big scar, and now I have this big ostomy bag, which is essentially, if you don't know, a bag that collects your poop on the outside of your body and just hangs there.
Ew.
So, ew. When you say it that way, it sounds really gross. The best thing about ostomy products nowadays is that you don't smell anything. There's no odor. There's no, like, no one would look at you or be close to you and ever know that you have an ostomy bag. And they have different types of ostomies. I have an ileostomy because it's attached to my ileum, which is the end of my small intestine. Some people have colostomy, which is part of their, attached to their colon. Some people have urostomy, which is a bladder one, attached to your bladder. And that is, there's somebody in here whose son had that. So there's definitely different types. So it was just very overwhelming at first. But then as time went on, I was able to really, I surrounded myself with very positive ostomy related things. I saw this woman who is, she's like from Australia, and she had 2 kids, and so she showed her ostomy bag through her pregnancies, and you know, was just very body positive. And then I saw a model who just got into, I think again it was in like the UK, and she had a YouTube channel, and she was just showing off, and she was just being herself, but with an ostomy bag. So that was very empowering to me, and I thought, well, wait a second, like, I photograph people all the time with breast cancer scars and with stomach scars and with, you know, giant, you know, there was somebody who had a pole in their leg and these crazy scars around her knee because of it. And it wasn't until then that I could really understand what they went through, what you guys go through to be naked in front of the camera and to be able to see yourself in that way and see yourself naked and not holding anything back and being able to accept those parts of you. Because for me, it felt so foreign. It felt so like not me yet because it was so new. And then to be able to understand like, hey, my clients go through this all the time, and to be able to have that connection with you guys was just a really, really cool connection. So I ended up taking a lot of pictures. I took a lot of selfies of my bag, trying to familiarize myself with my new body. I am super, super excited to see all the time. I love shopping at Aerie. You guys have probably heard me talk about it before. Aerie, a couple months ago, hired for their Aerie Real campaign, got a whole bunch of models with different disabilities and different body issues and different sizes and shapes and colors and ages, and had them model their underwear and their products. And that was so cool for me to see a woman with an ostomy bag in underwear on a billboard. Like, just the coolest thing. That made me so excited, and it empowered me more. And so what I want to do is I want to empower those of you who still feel like those parts of yourselves are foreign, and parts of yourselves that, like, they're part of you, but they are just so new that you can't see them as a part of yourself. And I want to help you to accept those parts of yourselves, because I know that how that changed me and how that made me so much more comfortable in my life, and who I was. And I want that for everyone. I want everyone to feel that comfortable and that that assurance that it's part of them and they own it. I think that everybody deserves that. Whether it's like a freckle or a birthmark, or whether it's, you know, your nose is crooked, or you don't have any hair because you have alopecia, or you have a discolored skin disorder, literally anything. You deserve to feel like that's part of you and that's who you are, and you should be proud of that. And this is not an easy thing. This is not like, oh, I've got a boudoir shoot done, and so now I'm cured of all of my body issues. I talk about this a lot, that it's not a one-time thing. It's not that easy. I wish it was that easy. I wish that I could cure you of all of your stuff. But it's a choice, and the boudoir shoot is a first step in making that choice every day. You make the choice every single day to get up and get dressed and wear what you want, and not let your ostomy or your disability or your body issues, you know, dictate your life. And that's the most empowering thing, is that you get to make that choice every day. And sometimes you just need help making that first step and saying, okay, well, I am actually capable of making a first step, and you know, changing my mindset every single day. It's not easy. It's never easy. A lot of you in the group just see me as being a very positive, upbeat person, which I am naturally, but I have really bad days. I have days where, you know, it's mentally healthier for me to stay in bed, and that's okay. You're allowed to have those days, but it shouldn't be all the time, and it shouldn't be to the point where it's dictating what you're wearing, and it's dictating what you eat and your happiness. Because, you know, sometimes you can find joy in wearing something, and sometimes you can find joy in eating a delicious salad with fried chicken on it. Who knows? Like, whatever makes you feel joyful is what you deserve. And there's no reason to keep comparing ourselves to these other perfect people, because as you guys can see in this group, there's literally no such thing as one perfect body. You guys all are you have the perfect body for yourself. That body that you have on you is yourself. It is you, and it is perfect for you. It is not perfect maybe for the next person, because it's not them, and that's okay. But to be able to say, like, hey, this is me and this is perfect for me, is huge. That's like a really, really big thing. And to be able to show people on my end, being able to see like the transformation happen in front of them, it totally blesses me. I mean, this is like a amazing thing for someone to be able to witness. And I feel, you know, honored to be able to be the one to show you guys. And I love when you guys post pictures of yourself and post selfies. I don't think I'm one of those people that's like, oh, why does she always take so many selfies? Because, girl, if you are feeling yourself, if you love yourself, your makeup and your hair, and you're just like, I'm just feeling myself, I don't know why, take the picture and post it. Who cares if it's perfect? Who cares what other people think? If your support system and the people that care about you are going to be loving how you feel, not loving the picture, they're going to love that you feel great, and that you feel amazing, and that you're smiling, and that you got up and got out of bed today. And that's what's important. That's what we really aim for. And that's that process that comes after making those steps to accept those parts of our bodies that we don't like, or that are foreign, or are just like not used to. And those can even be your after baby body. A lot of people talk about, sorry, I'm itching my nose. A lot of people talk about how, like, you know, nobody talks about how hard it is, like, after baby, like, that you just change. It's not like oh, I had a baby and then I got back to my after baby weight. Like, that's like my least favorite thing, because I got back to my pre-baby weight or whatever, but my body was totally changed. My hips were bigger, my boobs were like non-existent after I stopped breastfeeding, totally like changed shape. Like, my arms were totally different. I had stretch marks in places that like I couldn't even see really, and I was like, oh, I have a stretch mark there. So like, nobody talks about these things, but in life, our body is constantly changing. It doesn't have to be this elaborate surgery, horrible thing that went wrong with you. Your body, as you age, just changes shape and changes, you know, your skin changes and gets thins and gets spots and stuff like that. That's okay. And that's why everyone needs a boudoir shoot. It's not just because of some big thing that happened or some big tragedy. It's just to be able to accept how you are right now in this moment, because how you are right now is not how you're going to be maybe 5 years. Maybe it is how you are in 5 years, and that's okay, but maybe it's not. And maybe it's not in a year. Maybe it's not in 6 months. Who knows? But it doesn't mean that you don't deserve to love your body exactly how it is and appreciate everything that it's put you through. And I always say this. I say, your body has gotten you this far, hasn't it? Like, it's gotten you to this point. You're still here. That's awesome. I mean, just celebrate that. Celebrate that you're here. Celebrate that you're here on the earth, and that you have a body that, keeps you awake and gives your mind, food and lets you watch Facebook Lives and scroll through Facebook or whatever it is. Be excited and celebrate those things. So I just blabbed for a very long amount of time. I don't even know what time it is, because I totally closed my computer and now I'm going to look.
Hey.
But if you guys have any questions about anything.
No, I'm going to have to search it again.
Oh, Lucy just had a meltdown because I pushed her thing. Here, look, I'll do it. She's mad because
I'm trying to copy Unspeakable's eyeballs for his head. I'm making his Minecraft head.
There. Go through those. Okay, go ahead, do it again.
It won't do pictures.
Sorry, guys. So, I didn't even really answer any of your questions. So, if you guys have questions about anything, tell me now. I hope that this story kind of inspired some of you who have these issues and might have, parts of themselves that they're not comfortable with and stuff like that. I hope it inspires you to start making a physical choice. Like, you're saying out loud to yourself in the mirror, I'm going to start appreciating these things, or I'm going to start accepting these things. Because that is really a great first step in anything, in being able to accept all of those things. So, if you guys have any questions, comment away. Sorry for my sassy daughter in the background. I'm also, I'm a real person. I am, she goes, how dare you? I am a mom as well, so I'm a working mom. There's a kid sometimes that is in my videos. This is just how it goes. If you guys, also, I love to talk about my ostomy and how it works, and what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and products I use and stuff like that. So if you guys are curious about any of that, feel free to message me or post on my wall, or the wall of the group, and be like, hey, how does this work? I just got an ostomy and I don't know what bag to choose or whatever. Like, I'm always ready to answer questions. I want to empower people in all areas, whether that's about ostomies or about photography and their self-image. It doesn't matter to me. Nicole, I hope I said that right. I'm located in New Jersey, in central New Jersey. So we're like right off of 195. If you drew like a big cross in the middle of New Jersey, then we would be like dead center right in the middle. I know people don't think that central Jersey exists, but we totally do. Yes, Lucy is 7, so Tara, she just has continued to get increasingly sassy over the last year, and it's a lot to handle. It is a lot to handle. Oh, you sent me a message, Tara. Okay, awesome. I'll definitely check it out. Sometimes my messages go to my message requests. So if it takes me a day, it's usually because I only check my message requests at the end of the day, and then I'll answer in the morning. So I'll definitely get back to you. I'll look it out for it. So someone asked, how is my ostomy better for me now? Basically, I don't even feel it. It's like, it's like your hand or your leg. It's part of you. Andy doesn't really feel it. He doesn't see it. Every once in a while it like makes a sound. But I mean, honestly, if you were gonna like fart, it's kind of the same sound. So I don't fart anymore, which is also something that we make jokes about all the time. Because the gas goes right into my bag. So it is just so normal. The only thing that is ever wrong with it is that it gets itchy. So it's an adhesive that sticks to your skin all 24/7, unless you're changing your bag, where there's a little hole for your stoma, which is where that little, like, your intestines come out there. And it gets itchy every once in a while if I'm, like, reacting to the adhesive. And I usually take it off and wash it off and stuff like that, and then put a new one on, and I'm fine. So as opposed to the first surgery where I had attached my small intestines to my rectum, I had so many more issues with that and so many more symptoms not having a colon than I do with an ostomy bag. I mean, it is so much easier. I go to the bathroom, I empty it, I open it up, empty it into the toilet, wipe it out like I would wipe anywhere else, and I'm done. It's so easy. I mean, it is really a wonderful, it's a really wonderful thing. Andy just commented, did I tell the breaking in bed story? Okay. Well, our daughter's next to me, so I'll try to use words that are, not super telling, but you guys, I feel like as women will appreciate.
I can't go in the other room.
You can't? You can.
Yes, I can.
Lucy says she can go in the other room.
But I do really want to play Minecraft.
Okay, you stay here. I'll just use special words. So Andy and I were snuggling in bed, if you know what I mean. And you've heard about stories like we have ostomy groups where you're like, oh, has this ever happened? Like, I'm gonna stay away from this activity because, I don't want anything bad to happen with my bag. Or some people just don't do it at all with their spouses because they're so afraid. And that's just not me. I'm like, whatever, it's part of me. So he loves me for me. He's going to love my ostomy bag too. So we were, having some snuggle time, adult time at night after Lucy went to bed. And my bag broke literally right in the middle of stuff as we were happening. On my bed, poop everywhere. It's just, that's literally the worst case scenario that could ever happen. But hey, I've had my ostomy for almost 3 years. No, like 2.5 years now. No. And it's only happened once. So listen, if that's the worst thing that happens and we have to do a little cleanup, we were like, what is that? We stopped and we were like, what is that? And then we kind of smelled it and we were like, and then we just started laughing hysterically. Literally laughing hysterically. There's nothing else you can do. You can either cry and have the worst night of your life, or you can laugh hysterically. And we always say this. Somebody just commented, shit happens. There's really no other word to describe it. I had mentioned the post down below. In short, basically what happened, if you guys scroll back far enough, I'll have to maybe I can go back and like the post so it pops up in your feeds. It's basically a story of how I was carrying a laundry basket and I accidentally didn't realize it, but the lip of the laundry basket kind of hooked onto my bag. So when I pulled the laundry basket away from me, it pulled my bag off my body. And thankfully I was in a room with tiles because I had a lot to clean up. It was hilarious. Also, mattress covers. We definitely have a mattress cover. That helps so that it doesn't get to the mattress. And I don't know. I think you're just kind of always prepared that it could happen, but you just can't let it ruin your life. You can't let it dictate your life. You can't let it keep you from being intimate with your spouse. You can't whether that's an insulin pump, an ostomy, any type of scars that you have, you can't let that dictate your life and your happiness and your joy, because that's what makes you you. And that's what your spouse is totally, or your boyfriend or somebody that you're into is into you because of you, not because of those physical things. So those things happen to me. I have bad things every once in a while that happen with my ostomy bag, but it's better than having cancer, and it's better than, dying because I don't have a way for my intestines to heal. It's better than being in pain because I'm going to the bathroom 15 times a day. So you do what you got to do to live. And if you're happy about that, it makes your life way easier. And if you find joy in those little things and you find the funny parts that happen about, you know, that your life is surrounded by poop, then, you know, you're going to live a much happier life. You can be miserable. You can be sad about these things. But you can also, excuse me, wait a second. You can also be happy and just have a better life about it. And again, like I said, there's always bad days. There's always bad days.
I want to show them something.
You can't show them anything yet.
No, but no, look.
Lucy made a Minecraft house and she wants to show you, but I won't.
It's an unspeakable head.
We'll take a picture and I'll post it.
Okay, it is, and if you guys have kids and you have people that are big fans of Unspeakable and you don't know, just ask your kids if you have kids if they're a big fan of Unspeakable.
Okay.
Because I am.
Okay. I think Dad's calling you.
No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
He's not.
Thanks.
He's not calling me.
Love it. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you guys haven't been able to be here, like, on the live, I'm going to post it so you guys can scroll through and listen to the story whenever works for you. So I know that a lot of you said that you have Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. And a lot of you guys are scared to get ostomy bags. Just like for the reasons I said. I mean, it's like foreign. It's totally crazy. It's not like something you feel is normal right away. But I mean, I would urge anybody who has a lot of pain and a lot of problems where medication is not working to get an ostomy bag. It has made my quality of life so much better. And also, a benefit is if I eat like some Mexican food or, you know, some food that I know is probably going to make me go, I don't have to run to the bathroom. That's like the best thing. That is the most awesome thing. I have to pee all the time because I have weird bladder problems. But it's funny because Andy's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. I'm like, I don't have to worry about that. I have to go to the bathroom to empty my bag, but that's about it. But I urge you guys really, if you are having problems with it and not help with any of the medications, to definitely talk to your doctors about ostomies. I will answer any of the questions you have about them if you are, thinking about it or anything like that. I know, Terry, you said you messaged me, so I would love to answer your questions. I think that's an awesome thing to say or to do. So I'm going to head out because I just talked your ear off. But thank you for hanging out and listening to my story. Welcome to the group if you're new. I'm really excited that you're here. I'm really excited for the giveaway and being able to give some special ladies the chance to just have an afternoon to themselves. We are going to be announcing that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So that'll be in the group. You'll get a notification for it. We'll send you a message to remind you. But again, if you can't make it, don't feel sorry. You can tune in a little bit after. We're going to repost it. So thank you guys so much for talking with me for a little bit, even though I was talking the whole time. Have a good rest of your night. I can't believe how late it is. I got to put this one to bed. Good night, guys. Or ladies. Good night, ladies.